You ever leave a party or a networking event and just replay that one awkward conversation in your head over and over? Yeah, we've all been there. Connecting with a stranger can feel like a total gamble. But what if it wasn't? What if there was actually a science to it? Today, we're going to unpack a science-backed toolkit to build genuine trust and do it fast. It's a funny thing, right? Sometimes you just click with someone instantly, and other times it's just crickets. Well, the good news is it's way less about magic and a lot more about method. Turns out the difference usually comes down to a few key signals we're all sending and receiving in just the first few seconds. So here's our game plan. First, we'll get into the science of what's happening in our brains during first impressions. Then we'll go through a simple 3-minute playbook for pretty much any conversation. After that, we'll dive into some key techniques for building rapport, talk about some really important ethical red lines, and then wrap it all up with an actionable toolkit you can start using right away. Let's get into it. All right, first up, the science behind it all. See, to build trust, you kind of have to know what our brains are automatically looking for in those first few moments. And believe me, it happens way faster than you think, and it follows a pretty simple, predictable pattern. It all really boils down to these 3 pillars. In any new interaction, our brains are subconsciously asking 3 big questions. First, there's warmth. Are this person's intentions good? Next, you've got competence. Are they capable? Do they know what they're doing? And third is integrity. Are they reliable? Can I count on them? If you can signal these 3 things, you are on the fast track to building real trust. Our brains also have this really cool shortcut called Swift Trust. Just think about it. You walk into a conference and see someone with a speaker name badge. You instantly give them a certain amount of authority on their topic, right? You haven't seen their resume, but their role is clear. That's Swift Trust in action. We basically decide to act as if trust is already there just so we can get things done. And as long as the signals stay consistent, that trust holds. It's the oil that keeps our social and professional worlds running smoothly. Okay, so let's get practical. Knowing the science is one thing, but actually putting it to use is a whole other ballgame. This next section is your step-by-step guide for turning that first hello into a real connection and doing it all in about 3 minutes. Think of this flow as your conversational GPS. You start by just reading the room, getting the context. Then, and this is a game changer we're going to talk about, you use what's called a permission opener. From there, it's all about a back and forth of active listening and sharing a little bit about yourself. And just as important, you got to know how to end the conversation cleanly, leaving a great final impression. The best openers are usually the simplest ones because they're low risk. At a work thing, asking what brought you here today shows you're actually interested in them. Socially, something like, "Hi, would it be okay if I say a quick hello?" is amazing because it's all about consent. It puts them in control and takes all the pressure off. In a public place, just a simple direct question works perfectly. The main idea here is to make it super easy for them to say yes, and even easier for them to say no. So if your opener is the key that unlocks the door, then listening is the engine that drives the whole interaction forward. It's honestly the most powerful tool you have for connection. So let's break down how to do it right. Now, active listening isn't just about staying quiet while someone else talks. No, it's an active process of proving to them that you're hearing and understanding them. And the research is super clear on this. When people feel truly heard in a first conversation, their satisfaction with that interaction goes through the roof. It's the difference between just hearing words and actually getting the meaning behind them. And here is a fantastic, simple way to practice it. It's called the LUF method. LUF. First, listen. And I mean really listen, without interrupting, for at least 10 or 15 seconds. Next, understand. Just sum up what you heard in a single sentence. Something like, "So, if I'm getting this right." That proves you were locked in. And finally, follow up. Ask a great question that helps you dig a little deeper. It's simple, it's easy to remember, and it is incredibly effective. I mean, just look at the difference here. Good listening is all about being curious. You ask follow-up questions, you paraphrase to make sure you got it. Bad listening, on the other hand, is all about ego. Jumping in with advice nobody asked for, interrupting, or just waiting for your turn to talk about yourself. Remember, the goal isn't to solve their problem. It's just to understand their world for a minute. Okay, this next part is hugely important, the ethical red lines. Look, these techniques are powerful, and with great power comes great responsibility, right? Building trust has to be about genuine connection, not manipulation. That's non-negotiable. And that's really the bottom line. Every single interaction you have has to be built on a solid foundation of safety, respect, and consent. Without that, you're not building trust. You're just performing. This isn't just a nice to have, it's the whole point. It's also really important to know the difference between building rapport and a manipulative technique called elicitation. See, rapport is about a two-way street, mutual connection. Elicitation is a one-way street. It's about pulling information out of someone when they don't even realize you're doing it. If you've got a hidden agenda, you are not building trust. You're breaking it before it even starts. So just be transparent about what you're doing. To make sure we're always on the right side of that line, let's run through a quick consent checklist. First things first, look for the universal do not disturb signs. Are they wearing headphones, rushing somewhere, deep in a phone call? These are all clear signals that it is not a good time. Just respect their space and move on. Next, if you do start talking, pay really close attention to how they respond. You're not just listening for the word yes. Is their body language open? Are they making eye contact, smiling? You're looking for a clear, enthusiastic yes with their whole body. Anything less than that is really a no. And finally, always, always, always give them an easy out. Don't physically block their path. Don't corner them. A good conversation is an invitation, not a cage. The other person needs to feel totally free to end it at any moment without feeling weird or awkward about it. Okay, we've covered the why and the how. Now let's talk about the what. This last section is your actionable toolkit. We're going to take everything we just learned and boil it down into some simple scripts and exercises you can use to start practicing today. So here's a super simple, low-risk script for a public space. You start with permission, you state a very clear, non-threatening reason for talking to them, you ask one simple question, and then you have a clean, polite exit. This is the perfect way to practice approaching people in a way that feels safe and respectful for everybody involved. For a professional setting like a conference, the script looks a little different. Again, you start with permission, then the questions are more about their purpose, their competence. You use that follow-up question to prove you're listening, share a little about yourself to create some back and forth, and then you close with a very clear, low-pressure next step. This little script hits all three pillars: warmth, competence, and integrity. And look, like any other skill, this stuff takes practice. You can do these drills with people you already know and trust. Try the follow-up drill to train that curiosity muscle, or do a listening rep with a friend where your only job is to practice active listening. These are safe, easy ways to build the muscle memory you need to have great conversations. So, if you only take one thing away from all this, let it be this right here. There are no magic words. There are no secret handshakes. The fastest, most reliable way to build trust is to consistently show people that you are a warm, competent person who acts with integrity. It's not a trick you perform, it's a person you choose to be. And that leaves us with one final thought to kind of chew on. We've talked a lot about techniques and tools today, but maybe the ultimate technique isn't a technique at all. What if the most powerful way to get someone to trust you is simply to be a person who is truly, deeply worthy of that trust? It's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.